The nation's highest court delivered a landmark 6-3 win for children, upholding Tennessee's SB 1, a prohibition on medical procedures performed on minors related to sexual identity. The known and permanent harms of such procedures can include sterilization, among a host of others. FRC led the way in pioneering these types of laws years ago, first with the SAFE Act in Arkansas, which then led to more than 20 other states, including Tennessee, adopting similar measures. So what impact will today's court decision have on the fight to protect children? Well, here now to discuss this is one of those who argued the case before the United States Supreme Court, the Solicitor General of Tennessee, Matt Rice. Solicitor General Rice, welcome to Washington Watch. Congratulations on this significant win.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me today. Excited to be here. I understand that that my boss was on with you guys earlier this week. It's always hard to follow in his footsteps, but I'll do my best.
Well, you did quite a good job before the Supreme Court arguing this case. Give us a readout on the court's decision here. 6-3, pretty significant margin of victory.
Yeah, so, this case fundamentally was about who makes the difficult, politically controversial decisions in our society. Tennessee, when faced with a difficult medical issue that was being debated throughout the country and throughout the world, looked at the scientific evidence and decided that there simply was no scientific evidence to support gender interventions in minors. It enacted that law, and today the Supreme Court upheld that law as constitutional. The court rejected the notion that the Equal Protection Clause somehow constitutionalizes one side's view of an active medical debate, and instead reinforced a fundamental principle of our constitutional structure, which is that the power to resolve these types of political decisions rests with the democratic process.
Now, the case dealt with Tennessee's law, but 26 other states have very similar laws. What implications will this decision have for those states?
I think that those states' laws are greenlit after today's decisions. The court essentially returned this issue to the legislature and to the elected representatives. Now, it did not somehow ban these treatments in states that allow them, like California and New York. But for states like Tennessee and Alabama and others that have enacted these measures, the court reaffirmed that the decision as to whether to adopt these measures rests with the elected leaders at the state level.
So, General Rice, I think you could then take, generally speaking, and this recognition of the right of the states to make these determinations could be applied elsewhere.
Yeah, this is an important decision for states' rights. The Constitution has an important but a very limited role. The states were the traditional regulators of medicine, and they exercise that role here. And without running afoul of any equal protection or other constitutional provision, that power remains with the states. And we think that's a good thing. We think that allowing states the ability to adopt policies that match their constituents' views and viewpoints is good, not only for the state of Tennessee, but for the country more generally.
The majority opinion was actually written by the Chief Justice Roberts. Were you surprised by that?
No, I wasn't too surprised. The Chief Justice, as the most senior member of the court, being the chief, has the ability to assign the decision if he is in the majority. And so not surprising to see him take authorship here. I thought it was a very well-written, well-reasoned opinion that is consistent with what we've seen from the Chief Justice over his tenure.
Any surprising comments made in the dissents that were provided by the three dissenting justices?
No, I think the divide between the majority and the dissent was pretty much the divide you saw between the parties as to how to think about this law and think about whether it actually includes a sex-based classification or transgender-based classification or not. Of course, our position throughout this litigation has been that our law does not discriminate against any person. It restricts the use of particular drugs and surgeries for particular medical uses. That doesn't matter. That distinction does not turn on whether you're a boy or a girl or transgender or not. And ultimately, the court agreed with that view and recognized that giving, for example, testosterone to a boy with constitutional delayed puberty is not the same thing as giving testosterone to a girl who wants to change her physical appearance to match her gender identity.
So it's really the application for the use of these particular drugs.
Exactly. It turns on the medical use. And one of the examples that I tried to use at the oral argument at the court back in December was morphine. It's one thing to use morphine to manage pain. It's another thing to use morphine to assist suicide. Those are not the same treatment. And that is exactly what's happening here with these drugs. Using testosterone to assist with gender transition is not the same thing as using it to address a separate physical medical condition.
Well, Solicitor General Rice, I again want to commend you and congratulate you on a very significant win. It's huge. Grateful for your leadership on this and the leadership of the state of Tennessee. And thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you guys so much. God bless.